this is planning for learning assessment task 2. It is project 2 and it is pedagogical practices. So for this particular assessment, my first piece of advice would be getting the pedagogical practices documentation up in front of you. So whether you've got to go and get that online or whether you have that in a book or a document printed out that you can have next to you, but that's going to be really important in completing this assessment task. So this particular assessment task also asks you to have a look at a document. It's the pedagogical practices document or template that's going to be given to you by your assessor. However, you are able to find this document yourself. So again, I've got 2 tabs up, but if I go to all sessions, which I've gone to here, and I've gone to the planning for learning student resources, then I can see I have the pedagogical practices documentation there. So if I just open that up for me, I get this template. So you're going to be completing the assessment on this template. There's a few things that you need to keep in mind when completing this assessment. You need to pay attention to the age group up the top. So think of this area up the top as a bit of a scenario or a setup to the task. So you need to think about the fact that this age group are toddlers, they're 18 months to 2 years, that while you're in that room with those toddlers, you're really focusing on the children having a sense of identity, which is obviously a learning outcome. The indicator to that learning outcome then is that children feel safe, they feel secure, and they feel supported. So this is what you're trying to work on with that group of children. Then it lists underneath that, for this particular little scenario, A and B, 2 more extensions of information to that scenario. So then it says, well, we've got toddlers, we're working on their sense of identity, and our goal for them in relation to a sense of identity is that they will engage in routine and self-help tasks. So that's your scenario. So what do you need to put in this box here? Well, you need to identify 1 or 2 pedagogical practices that you could implement that will help the children to engage in routine self-help tasks and therefore help them to achieve outcome 1 and be appropriate for their age group. So this section here, you're really going to look through your pedagogical practices, read them thoroughly, understand them, and pick out and describe a couple of pedagogical practices you can implement to help the children achieve the goal that we have here. So you need to do that for each section. So again, what pedagogical practices can you use to help children develop a trusting relationship with staff? Then we're moving down and you've got a different scenario. You've now got preschool children. They're 3 to 6 years old. We're still looking at identity. We're still looking at helping them engage in routine or self-help tasks, but what pedagogical practices would you implement that would be appropriate for that age group? And describe, really get wordy, start putting as much information in as you can. What I do want to point some focus on though is that once you've done the first template and the second template, the third template is actually repeated and you don't need to do this one. So all I want you to do is write repeated there. It's going to help you remember that it's repeated and it's going to help your assessor remember as well. However, then you pass that one and these ones have to be done. So we're now looking again at toddlers. We're still looking at identity, but we have different scenarios there for both of the age groups, different scenarios. So there's 4 templates that you have to complete. So you have to have a really thorough knowledge of the pedagogical practices. So once you've done that, you go to actually submitting. You would have saved it to your desktop, chosen the file and submitted it to your trainer.